Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video I want to show you a couple things that I did to my not finished quite yet, but I'm doing with the KS0, creating the mining rig. So just going back to GPU mining, right? So you would have GPUs. So I got my old rig, basically self-built, nothing fancy, just aluminum, you know, the corners and just rub together, right? So what I really did, I lowered this down another 3 inches, I believe. So the total height of this on the very top of the rig, right? So we have KS0 on top of this edge of the fans. So the fans, we want to cool very top basically of the KS0. So when the when the air blows, it just cools out as much as possible at the top because all the heat coming up. So that's most efficient way I figured for this device. And then I ordered this little guy, which is a booster, basically a converter. It converts 12 volts to 19 volts. So it's STEPUP converter, and it's a 20 amp rated, and I have another one for 10 amp. All right, so I have this connected directly to my server PSU, which you guys probably all who did GPU mining, you have a bunch of these guys sitting around for extras, or you're not using maybe for GPU right now. So the reason I'm trying to do that, I'm trying to eliminate these guys. All right, so we're trying to get rid of this power supply that came with the KS0. And why I'm trying to do that, just because it's taking a lot of wires, a lot of space. It hits two, well, this one hits two, but this is just a one piece. Plus on top of it, I'm using this to power my fans over here, all the 7 fans connected to this with the controller that has temperature sensors. So that helps like to control in an environment where if the temperature gonna rise, so if you are mining at home, you may not need it, like if you have, you know, cooler space. But if you are depending on the air coming from the outside or the AC running constantly, you will have to kind of get some extra air blowing to cool down in case if it goes hot inside the room, right? So I'm trying to get these fans not running on the full speed. It could go to 5,000 RPM, and we're not gonna go to 5,000 right now. It's only probably using up to 1,000 RPM. So you could hear it's really quiet. You can even put it at home. I don't know if you can hear, guys. It's pretty quiet, right? So we don't have a lot of noise coming. All my KS0, all 4 of these set up to 50% internal fans. So I got them set at 50%. So all the energy we can compare on these two KSOs connected to my server PSU, and these 2 guys connected to just stock PSU that came with the KS0, right? So I got 2 of them set up so we can compare power consumption. And now on this PSU, you have to remember, so I connect the fans. So let's disconnect these 2 fans that's running, see how quieter it is now. And it's the only power we're using is here that comes to our converter, which I connected to the power meter. So we are using 130 watts, 12 volts coming out from this system, right? 12 volts. So we have using 130 almost watts, right? 10.7 amps. And that's coming in here, right? The input. So we have input right here, black and red, and then black and yellow is output, 19 volts. So what did we connect this coming to my splitter, and this is temporarily, so don't judge me, it's just temporarily. I split that to connect 2 of the KS0 right now, just to one converter. It can support probably up to 3 or 4. It's still cool. It's been running almost 24 hours now, and it's really cold. I mean, there is no really, it's cooler than my KS0s, right? So let's take a look at the power reading, what we have here. So this is my power reading for PSU. You could see this cable comes from here, from this meter, 150 goes directly to my Octominer 750 watts PSU, server PSU, and just a breakboard, nothing else connects here. Nothing else, just this, right? So I disconnect fans, so you know it's 150 watts just for two. So we're basically using 75 watts for each. And the reason is that is PSU are using about another 15 watts, I believe, right? So roughly, because if we go back and check here, it's 130 watts of the on the Iceriver KS0. 130 watts is the consumption of our mining servers, right, of this ASICs. So now let's go back here, and this is 135 watts we're using on the directly connected to our two of these. You could see two of these connected directly to my two of the stock PSU, and it goes just right here. All right, so they're all mining for almost 24 hours here. Let's see how long they've been mining. All right, so right here, 7 hours. I restarted a few times, but anyways, I hope you guys can see this. Sorry about the blurry screen. Okay, so number 1 and 2. All right, those two mining on the there's no issues or anything. These two for 112 and 120 is these two guys, the first two that's running off the PSU. So there is not a big issues, everything perfectly fine, the temperature's fine, right? And then the other two is the this one, these two, also everything fine, same temperatures, everything pretty close, so there's no difference on these two miners. All right, so that's my setup so far. I'm gonna try to switch everything to the single server PSU, and the reason why is just to eliminate a bunch of this stuff. I have 6 of these guys. I'm gonna set 2 more here, and the last fan is gonna be used for, I'm probably gonna use 2 of these to connect 3 on each, right? So this one I have for 20 amp. I order by accident, I've got another one, but it's a 10 amp. I'm gonna test it out and see if it works, and if the 10 amps work, it's a little smaller. I can probably connect only 2 to the maximum, but I think it's gonna overheat for 2. So to be safe, I think the 3 of them for 20 amps should be perfectly fine according to my calculations. Okay, so that's the setup. Don't judge me about the wiring. This all temporarily just to hooked up, but I can really do that and set it up. The only thing I didn't figure how to really brace them at the bottom. So I have this one screw kind of with the flat head. I don't know if you can see that at the bottom, tapping on one side, and the other screw is on the other side. So if I do that to just kind of stabilize them, or I can run like a bar across, maybe. Let me know in the comments what you think the best way to do it. I think like running the bar across, and maybe like a drill little top screw and put some threads on the top and just connect them on the bar, just like aluminum angle. It will probably get an extra heat out or something like that. Anyways, so that's the setup. Let me put the fans back on, so the fans are cooling up a little bit, and with the fans running, you can hear now all these fans on, we get 160 watts. So it's 10 watts. For right now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fans running. This last 2 I disconnect, there's nothing there. This one is just cooling a little bit this, which probably doesn't need to cool, but it's very cold. That's my setup. Let me know if you guys like it or not in the comments. Everything pretty simple. I'll show you here in a second how my set up to connect this thing. So let's go to my table here. Okay, so we're back on the table. So let's take a look what you can use to connect these guys. So I ordered some of these guys, pass-through connectors, which is really cool. So what you could do, you just open up one side, you clean up this wire just a tiny bit more than it's come stuck, right? Hopefully you could see that, and just push right in and close it. Really easy, quick connect. You can disconnect, redo it if you need to. It's rated for 35 amp, so it's more than we needed. We're probably gonna pull maximum 15, so it's really overkill. So that's one way to do it, and then connect to the other end of your PSU. Now, how am I connecting to PSU? So you know your GPU PSE cable, right? What do we do with them? We have a bunch of extras probably laying around. If you did GPU mining, it'll be no-brainer. You just get one of these, cut them in half, and you can actually use both ends. How? I'll show you. I already used that end from one cable, and this is, by the way, it's a 16 gauge wire, and the second 6+2 pin, what you do, you just disconnect that extra piece, and I just pulled out these two little wires. We don't need them, right? So we're just gonna use this piece. Now you're gonna say, well, this piece not gonna fit, and you're gonna be right. So what we're gonna do is modify slightly. So with this piece, we're gonna cut just about like this with our utility knife, cut slightly right here, and that's gonna allow us to basically to plug in into our PSU breakboard. Okay, so that's how you do it. You got the 16 gauge 3-wire of the plus, that's your positive, and black is negative, and that's the same way you connect these guys. So you go on the input, okay, make sure you read input on the 12 volts, and we're gonna connect black to black, red to yellow. Okay, so that's the way you want to connect. Now I cut it a little bit too short. I cleaned on this wire so it doesn't clips on it. Okay, so you have to clean up a little more. So let's do this right now real quick so you could see this. So we're gonna do this, and we're gonna clean up with my clip tool. Just a little extra, right? There you go. And let's see if this wire is gonna be long enough to clip. Now, ideally, probably I want to solder, and I'll show you another way. The way I did the other one is I actually did soldering. And so if we go like this and we close it, so now it's securely connected, right? And the connection of these clips, it's I figured really secure, right? So we have red on the positive, yellow on positive here from server PSU, and then same thing on the black side, right? So we go here and we connect this same way. So we're gonna clean it up a little extra. And we're gonna go to the negative part of the input. Over here, open it up, go all the way in, and close it. Okay, perfect. See how I've done it? So basically, I wanna just cut it like right there so it doesn't, so I don't have anything exposed, any wires exposed there. So I'm gonna clean it up, cut a little bit shorter because it was too little, tiny, too long. Okay, so just about right there. We go back there, and we go all the way in, bam. Okay, much better. So that's our connection basically for positive and negative plug-in for our PSU to this converter. Now this output is gonna be 19 volts that you're gonna connect to your KS0s. So what I found online, there are a couple things you can do. You can solder yourself, get like those 5.5 by 2.5 millimeters, and I'll leave link down below so you could find all of these things on Amazon. This guy, these little guys, and the adapters and the clips, I mean quick connectors. So this, you just connect basically 2 wires. You're gonna go positive on the middle, negative over here, and that's gonna be your connection to the KS0. Now, if you're afraid of, soldering, or if you don't have a solder kit, I'll leave you a link below. There is one nice adapter that's sold on Amazon, is from 5.5 to 2 times 2.5 millimeters. This connector goes to XT60. That's a beautiful connector, X660. And then what you do, you buy some of these clips. That is, if you don't want to solder, there is one with the wire already. So you grab those and connect those with the wire on the other end. And then you just use this. So you don't really need to use any soldering, you can just clip them there. Or what I'm gonna do for myself, I just gonna solder this, and on the output 19 volts, right? So I'm gonna solder just right here, and I'm gonna plug in just right there, boom. And this is gonna be my output. So now they do sell splitters for this XT60. I recommend this, very nice, gives you very nice connection, never overheats. This XT30 you can use like a little smaller one, tiny, but it's hard to connect larger cables to these guys. XT30 designed for 30 amp, XT60 for 60 amp, so it definitely overkill, but it's in a long run, it's gonna work perfectly and longer, gonna give you a lot better connection. Okay, so use this. Don't save like 50 cents or $1 for a little bit cheaper ones. Use XT60. This is what I recommend, and that's how I did it. I did the first one, I just did with these clips. And the reason why you can connect to these guys, you can really connect these testers to test power yourself. Okay, so what you really can do is, let me get one of these testers right there. Okay, and I'm gonna post link below. I had 2 of these before. All right, so what it is just inline. So see, like a source, so that's where the source coming from, right? So the source is gonna be, you can connect this in between anywhere here, and that's gonna come from your server PSU, right, from breakboard. You connect that right here to the source, and then on the output you connect to your input of your converter. Or you can do the other way. So this is gonna read 12 volts in the voltage, or you can do on a 19 volts. So if you wanna make sure your voltage correctly, 19 volts, keeping straight. I already tested both ways, and it shows 19 volts. It drops to 18.9. So this guys works pretty well. It's holding up on the two KSO. It's holding the voltage pretty stable without overheating or anything. And this wire's design, I think it's 12 gauge, so that's designed for 16 amp. So you have overkill on this short distance. They actually, on the silicone wires, they're actually more rated, I think, to more like 30 amp or 35 amp, actually 70 amp, which is insane, but I don't believe that. I think 30 amp probably you can test it, but I don't think you need that for, it's 360 watt. You need to have all 6 of them connected to one to be able to overload this, wires for the long time. Anyway, so that's for your testing. If you need to do that, if you don't need, I've tested. This device works perfectly. You get 19 volts, very stable, and actually I recommend 20 amp because you can connect 3 of them. If you only have small amount, if you have couple, you're probably just okay with one, but on the 10 amp it's cheaper. It's $20. The other one is $40. But if you think about it, you already have this, guys. You don't need to buy really much. You only need to buy the converter, the cables, which this kind of, I think, expensive. 2 of them $9.99, so it's like $5 each, so you're spending $20 plus 5 plus some connectors, this and this, right? So if you're buying these connectors, that's plenty for many projects and any other project you can use. So yeah, you will spend probably roughly, and by the way, like I got one for 40, I'm gonna use for 3 KS0s. So really, if you divide that, so you're really spending like, you know, $15 per unit, which pretty much like less than PSU, original PSU cost. They sell on Iceriver $36. You can buy on Amazon something similar probably for $20, but I want to eliminate those just for you know, for safety, because they get heat up and they're harder to cool off. These guys in aluminum case, you can fan them and cool them really cool, because you can connect to an extra aluminum piece of radiator or something like that if you need to cool them more. So this is automotive. It's designed for cars, I believe, but boats or anything like that. But I was surprised how it's stable, very stably holding a voltage. So just leave the comments below if you think this one is not safe to use, but I think to me it's been stable. There is no difference between mining on this and on the original stock PSU. So I'm kind of confident, but do your research. I don't want, you know, your product to be damaged or anything, but I think it's pretty safe to do it because the voltage is right. So, and plus you're using server PSU, which already filtered and have correct power outage. Now, what I noticed before we finish here, I think I kind of cover everything, what to do with that. What I noticed when I connect this 1200 PSU, which I didn't kind of test before, but when I connect just this without nothing connected, just the breakboard and this PSU. So the breakboard make it, you cannot start the PSU, server PSU, without breakboard because it has the chip to start it, right? So when I just connect the breakboard to 1200, it consumes 40 watt in idle, 40 watts of power, which I didn't like. So I switched to 750, which only was like 10 watts or 7 watts. I don't know why. I didn't really pay attention before, but I think it's kind of surprised me. I don't know if this is maybe defective. I don't know. Just leave the comment down below. Let me know if you have similar experience on these guys and they have idle 40 watts. That's too much, because when I connect this, I actually get 180 watts for 2 miners. When I connected the other one, the 750, this from Octominer I pulled. So that 750 actually only adds 15 watts, so even less probably than that. So, and that's break between all of the KSOs. If I use 6 of them, I can easily put all six of them just for one PSU and the converters, 2 converters. So realistically, I almost have all the parts, except I just need, this is the most expensive things. I need 2 of these, so that's gonna be $80 investment, right? I'm gonna use some of these. I had already some of these connectors. I had to buy more for my project anyway. So that's just up to you, which one do you wanna use. And again, if you wanna use these cables that already build up, so you don't need to do any soldering, you can do that and get the clips, quick connectors like this, and get your, so these guys, and you can buy those XT60 with the wire already, 12 gauge, which is gonna be really safe, 12 gauge, right? So how did I calculate this? So let's take a look on this setup. What can I load on this? Safely, I believe I can load on this PSI cable. I think safely I can put like 250 watts, right? So we know when we've been mining on the 18 gauge, it's not recommended, but for 16 gauge wire, this is really thick, high quality wire. So you typically, you can put more power to it. You can put 13 amp to each wire, which equals almost 39 insane amps. So let's say 40 amp times 12, that's like 480 close to 450 watts, let's say, right? But the problem is that it's the connector rated only for 7 to 10 amp per pin, which makes it, let's go to 7 amp, right? So 7 amp is the times 12 volts for the PSU, right? So we're gonna only get a maximum of the 120 watt per pin, or that's 360 watts total. Or if we go lower end 7 amp, it will be around times 12, 70, 84, right? So 84 watts for each connector wire, positive and negative. So we can get really roughly 240 watts, right? So with that being said, what we're gonna use for our purposes, connecting on one wire, I'm gonna connect 3 of those. That's gonna equal 3 KS0, should be equal to 195 watts. So should be really safe. I think we're gonna be going lower than the rating of the wire, and we're gonna be going lower than the rating of connector on the safe end. If you want, you can split and make this 2 of these guys, just to kind of like use splitter, you know, so you can split different way and just put them 2 of these to the PSU breakboard if you don't want to melt any of the connector. But I think you're gonna be safe. I'm gonna be paying attention to temperatures, but I think that's where we are. We're gonna be fine, I think, with this. Just a 20 amp version, and what we connect, I'll finish up connecting 3 of them just to test it. After I get 3 of them, I'll get the other, all 6 of them set up on 2 of those, and hopefully we'll get all this system working just on my server PSU, right? So server PSU will supply all the power I need for entire, this is insane, guys. If you just think about this rig, we used to get the 3070, I used to buy 3070, just a little more expensive that one of this KS0. I paid like sometimes $1,000 or $1,100 back 3 years ago, I believe, and when it was insane peak, and it was on the peak, it was doing almost $7 a day per GPU Ethereum mining. So this guy started doing $38 a day. Now it's dropped to almost like $3.50, $4 a day. It's gonna keep on dropping, but Ethereum mining been dropping a lot more. It was like $1 a day, if you remember that time, if anyone mined Ethereum back in the GPU. And imagine if you spend on $1,000 on this 3070 GPU, it was something similar. Of course, GPU you can use for something else. These guys are just designed only mining Caspa for now, at least that's what we know. All right, but it's insane, like the amount of power it's gonna use. So think about it, it's like 65 watts each. Let's say 3070, you have to mine, probably when you mine in Caspa on 3070, that's what you get, 60 watts, right? You can set it up for 60, even 55 watts. So it will be similar setup, but I can run the whole 6 KS0 rig on one server PSU. It's gonna be sufficient because it's gonna be 200 total. I'm gonna use probably 300 watts, and the 750 watt PSU gonna be not even 50% load. So it'll be oops, sorry about that, I got my light shut down on me. So well, let's see. Okay, we're back in business with the lights. So anyways, sorry for the long video. I just wanted to cover all these parts on connections, and the that you can actually see the rating of this device, like, you know, in the real time. Make sure it's been mining for 7 hours after I disconnected, but overall it's been a day, almost 24 hours. So we get in 10 amps, 129 watts for 2 miners. That is like insane. This is very accurate devices, by the way, guys. Very accurate meters. So we really only consuming directly from PSU only 130, close to 130, 65 watts per each. Exactly what it's rated. Really nice KS0 Iceriver. Good job on the rating here. All right, well, thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Sorry for the long video.